Hey everybody, it's your pal Mike Zombie, and this week we're going to talk about Zombies vs. Strippers from 2012. This is a brand new one, and special thanks to Full Moon for inviting us to review it. And thanks to McPierce for saying, hey, this is a job for Mike Zombie. This movie had me smiling from the very beginning, to be completely honest. The intro was nice. A lot of films, especially non-Hollywood films, for the most part, kind of just throw some crap together. Some really fight to wow you with the Adobe After Effects in the intro, but they did a decent job with this. The music was pretty good. The movement kept my eyes going, and what they did was they like to show you everybody's name up front. Not a lot of films do that now. So it's good to know who was who before we even got started. And as we fade in, I'm already laughing because I know exactly where this is being filmed. I'm going to have to write a book or something about the industrial part of southeast Los Angeles, near the Mateo Street Bridge, where I can't tell you how many zombie films and horror films are being filmed in the streets here. I'm not even kidding. In the last 6 months, I've probably seen 15 zombie films that it's some portion, at least of which was shot in this area. And this is a historical area for making films. We can go cross-genre. I mean, Savage Streets, a lot of which was filmed in this area, they actually throw a woman off the bridge. Return of the Living Dead, one of the granddaddy of all these films from 1984, was filmed right down here. You Need a Medical Supply was fabricated from an existing building that's now a residential. So many movies are filmed in this area that incorporate the LA River, Grease, the Grease lightning racing scene. This is all right here. It's unbelievable, and most people drive right by all day on the 5 and don't even know that it's there. I do. I go there quite a bit. Used to go there for work, and I look around and I recognize things. So when Spider rolls up in the 67 El Camino, I know exactly where he is. And he pulls up to the Tough Titty, which is a strip bar. And areas like this, I mean, I live in Long Beach, so I can tell you from here on all the way up through LA, you get to industrial areas, there's going to be titty bars everywhere, just the way it is. So he pulls up in front of the Tough Titty, and we notice his license plate says, I love Hambo. Who's Hambo? Well, that's a question, or even why is Hambo? I was asking myself after the film. It was an element that I didn't quite get. But let's jump right in on him. Hambo is kind of like a really fucked up, ghetto, murderous Captain Kangaroo, I guess. And some of you might be far too young to remember Captain Kangaroo, but I mean, I was born in the 70s, so I remember in the fleeting moments of my childhood, young childhood, that I would watch Captain Kangaroo on TV. And he wasn't trying to murder anybody and wasn't an asshole. Maybe, you know what? It maybe be more realistic if I said that he's kind of like maybe even a more fucked up version of Krusty the Clown, but not quite so much the clown, but he's like a farmhand. So he's got like the coveralls on, and he's got the crazy hair, and that's his thing. So Spider, who owns a Tough Titty, goes walking into a strip club, and he's kind of half fighting a wino on the way and is wanting a freebie. And you get inside this joint and you realize it's kind of a dump, but more than that, there's nothing going on. There's 2 customers sitting there that kind of seem out of it, and he's looking around like, what the fuck's going on? And he's talking to the guy at the door, who's kind of like a bumbling idiot. He's a pretty big guy, maybe not exactly the kind of guy you would think would be a doorman. He's like, what's going on? How's business? And he's like, oh, I need a raise, and I need this, and the thing we talked about. And he's like, shut the fuck up. Let me get inside. Let me figure out what's going on. You know how bad business is. And we get a tip at the start. The Spider's on his phone with a potential deal to sell the Tough Titties, we find out later, which I guess is going to be leveled into a parking lot because there's not enough of that shitty fucked up blank real estate down on this same street. But whatever, it's their story. So he comes in as a couple of stiffs, literally stiffs, sitting there, not reacting at all to the prettiest girl of this whole movie. No doubt about that. Victoria Levine. Amazing, beautiful girl. Dancing her ass off up there. And they're kind of like, sitting there, and she's really giving it all she has. And she comes across, and they probably state that she's like the newest girl there. She's not one of those well-seasoned, leathery strippers. And you know what I mean when I say the leathery strippers. It's like, wow, I could fucking skin you and turn you into a boot. That's kind of creepy. No, she's young, fresh-faced, and she's like trying, she's upset, and Spider's like, no, you're doing great. Here's some cash. Don't give up. Don't feel bad. And he's talking to these guys sitting there like, hey, fellas, how you doing? You enjoying your day? You enjoying the club? You gonna tip the dancers? And we realize, of course, they're zombies. And they don't really explain how they came to be. And, I mean, for me, it didn't really make sense. I mean, it was kind of cool that they were in the strip club, I guess. But they painfully show us later on that once you're bitten, the progression is really fast. You become a zombie pretty quickly, and you're in severe pain most of the time. So why a couple of guys that were bit would wander into the strip club, I don't know. I think I'd be looking for medical attention. And the doorman, even though he's kind of an idiot, he would have known. I think he did mention offhandedly to Spider that I knew something wasn't right with these guys, but didn't know what it was. They had cash and they got in. So I didn't get that element of it, but that's okay. And we meet the rest of the cast. Now, we have a bartender who's kind of creepy. I don't get his hair. It looks like a mop, but that's all right. The rest of the girls they show consist of Sugar Hills, and it's kind of established that like she's been there the longest, and she's probably closest to Spider, though she knows enough not to trust him, doesn't hate him, but there's this weird rift between them and a weird sexual tension from Spider's part. He's more into her and is apparently willing to throw everything away just to be with her, just to run away with her. But she seems a little more loyal to the rest of the girls, which, of course, consist of Jasmine, I believe, and absolutely Vanilla. Vanilla's a bad, bad, bad girl. And she can fight with a shoe like no one's business. She's fucking some zombies up with a shoe tied to a board. It was kind of impressive. And the movie just takes place inside the strip club. And we get reports as Spider's watching the television in the office of chaos, rampant, people are dying, and there's some weird infection going on. And no one really seems to put it together until creeps start showing up in front of the place and beating on the doors trying to get in and biting the shit out of everybody. Now, this movie had plenty of action, plenty of killing, and I've always set the bar real low when it comes to zombie films lately. Well, I'm just to be honest with you, because a lot of them really, really stink. And the effects, so when I see good effects, damn, I'm right there in it and I'm really enjoying it. There is a really fucked up attack on one of the girls by a member of the staff. Well, I'll just say, you'll know it when you see it. It has to do with her face. And I was like, whoa, nice. Liked that a lot. Caught me off guard, didn't see it coming. Really well done. And as I watched it 4 or 5 times more and paused it, I saw how they did it and it demystified it for me, but still, with the speed they did it, it was brilliant. So good job to the crew for putting that together. And Jasmine, sorry, I know that was a rough one for you. So the motivations in this from the people kind of go from doing their jobs in the humdrum to, well, you know what? If it turns out Spider's going to sell this place, let's have one more hurrah, let's have one more fucking party and enjoy ourselves. And who walks in but a gentleman with a chance to save this place? And the motivation kind of changes to, hey, let's get this guy on our side. Let's acquire what we need to keep this business going. Maybe we can stay afloat. With that hope also comes a whole lot of negativity, and everything else kind of piles in. And it kind of becomes convoluted at that point. And in the end, it's a zombie film, so you know it's going to be just about survival. Some of these people survive, some of them don't. We do get revisited by Hambo, which made no sense to me, to be honest with you. And this was something in the mind of the writer and the director. Maybe it's some inside joke. And in a film like this, usually something inserted that's absurd and that personal usually gets portrayed by the writer, the director, or one of the, whatever executive producer ponied up the cash to get this thing made. They get their weird little fringe idea in and they usually portray it. I don't think that was the case in this one, so I'm kind of at a loss as to what the whole Hambo thing was. Because he really didn't lend himself to the story in any way as far as, they mention his morality and we see him die on television very briefly, but it just didn't make any real sense. No one needed him for their own survival, though Spider was obsessed with him. I'm not giving you all the details because this is a film that I'm going to recommend you see. I had a couple of good laughs out of it, and I looked at the projected budget on it, and for $500,000, they did a pretty good job. I'm not going to completely trash this film. It's far from the best I've seen, but to be honest with you, it was capable. Some of the characters, I don't know if I sympathized with them or just identified with them. Spider, I got Spider. I kind of understood. Some guys have a dream, try to hold it, lose it, start to lose it, try to negotiate to keep it, then just try to negotiate to not lose too much on it, and then half-heartedly try to dream a way to keep it and be on top, but yet at the same time willing to fucking cut everyone's throat and back away from it. And that's not the most honest way to be, but I'm not saying I'm the most honest guy, but I think every one of us has been in a rough situation where we were willing to, in a time of desperation and panic, have principles and then drop them 30 seconds later because you think it's going to be all right, but then pull back to your principles again. Maybe it's how we are. I don't know. In a perfect world, these things don't come up, but in these films, they do. And I kind of identified in a weird way with Spider. This was the first acting gig that I could find for some of these folks, and everybody did a decent job. Some did a really good job. I thought Victoria, for her debut as an actress, did a really nice job, and you're going to be seeing a lot from her. About the only guy that got on my nerves, the punk did. His name was Spike. And I really don't think it was. I think he got on my nerves because of the way they wrote him. I thought his acting was just fine, but it was kind of had hack lines. It was like they wrote him to somewhat be Sid Vicious with his attitude and with the fuck it all, devil may care bullshit, which is fine. But I think actually the guy who played him, Adam Brooks, might have been a better actor than that. Kind of not just rose to it, but kind of went over it, and it just didn't seem to mix well for me. But hey, other than that, this was a pretty good film, and I'm really considering either writing a book or doing a documentary on all these films that are shot in this area. And it's so funny, if you would just come down here on your next trip to Disneyland and drive around slightly west of the 5 freeway around the Mateo Street Bridge, you would recognize places and say to yourself, wow, I've seen this so many times in so many movies. It's not a coincidence. I mean, no one hardly goes there. It's an industrial area. A lot of work done inside these buildings, so the streets are pretty much vacant. Great spot to host an apocalypse. Anyway, on the Burdinsky scale of buy it, borrow it, or don't bother, I'm going to rate Zombie vs. Strippers from 2012 a borrow. It's definitely worth a watch. And yes, there's some boobs in this film. Which, by the way, is good in zombie films. If you're not going to throttle me with violence and gore, go ahead. Throw some beautiful women in, make them topless. Hey, a little eye candy never hurt anything. This film stands on its own without the need of a nudity device, but hey, it's appreciated anyway. Before I go, special high five to Brad Potts, who played the part of Red Wings, the biker. I realized like 30 seconds into his rap, I'm sitting there and I'm like, he's Foghorn Leghorn. He actually is channeling Foghorn Leghorn. So when you watch this, and I hope you do, have a good laugh at the expense of the Foghorn Leghorn. And I don't even know if he was doing it. I hope he did. I hope it was purposeful, and I hope no one on set caught it. But it was really funny and really cheered me up. Have a good week, you guys. And this shit that McPierce is talking about me being possessed, I don't know. If you listened earlier on in the show, I don't know what's going on, but I assure you that I'm feeling fine. Mick Pierce sometimes bullshits you folks. I don't want to pull down like the wall where you see the Great Oz, but sometimes Mick Pierce acts like he's out in space. Folks, I have serious doubts if he's actually broken through the upper layers of our atmosphere. I really do. I have some doubts. But he's a good man, in spite of what Misfit Boy says. And he was talking some shit. No, I'm kidding. Picking fights. Hey, and you guys should definitely check out our zombie mob. Because McPierce wasn't there. Couldn't be. He was doing other things, and I not only accused him of telling Vaughn he could go fuck himself, but that McPierce was actually picking up trash on the side of the freeway because he didn't want to pay the fucking fines. So enjoy that. We had a good zombie mob. I'll mention it here. And I'm going to break this on our show, too. I did talk about it last night. Why not do it here as well? I think this might actually come out first. If you're a big Dawn of the Dead fan like me, 1978, you guys know that. I never shut up about the fucking film. I found something interesting on eBay. Go on to eBay. Look for Dawn of the Dead 1978 3D. It's coming out of Germany, and I wish I had a better explanation for what it is, but apparently it's an actual cut of Dawn of the Dead that has somehow been converted to 3D. Now, your DVD player may not support it. It is from a different region. Your computer probably will, from what I've heard, and you may have a region-free DVD player, and that's great, too. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Dawn of the Dead 1978 in 3D. It has somehow been converted. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how many scenes would have lended itself to that. I don't know. Hopefully it's not just a hokey thing. But you know me, I'm a sucker, and I'm going to watch it. So, anyways, have a great week, you guys. And I don't think I'm going to convert back into some kind of poltergeist. God, I hope.